For many Trump supporters, this week was a time to say farewell to the president they voted for. As President Trump arrived in West Palm Beach on Wednesday, he was greeted with the cheers of his loyal supporters.
It's a send-off. You know, congratulations. It's a celebration. It's a welcome home.
He stood up for us, and now we want to show him how much we love him and that we support him.
Among the crowd that day, Richard Snowden.
It was a bit sad. I think most Trump supporters will admit that a few tears were shed.
A parallel celebration as the rest of the country watched the 46th president of the United States be sworn in.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
President Joe Biden calling for the country to come together.
Unity is the path forward, and we must meet this moment as the United States of America.
A desperate plea after a month that started with a failed insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, followed by the second impeachment of Donald Trump, charged with inciting that mob. On the heels of all of this, we spoke with 3 Trump supporters from 3 different states to pose the question, where do we go from here? And is unity possible at a time of deep divide?
Joe Biden is now the president of the United States of America. What do you think?
Well, I will never say anything bad about him. I will watch and take it all in. He is my president. He is our president. Good people have to wish only the best success for his administration because it affects all of us.
I first met retired Delaware businessman Richard Snowden at a Minneapolis rally in 2019. It would be one of 74 Trump rallies he would attend over the last 5 years. He spent more than $30,000 of his own money traveling to them.
5 years ago, a year ago when we met today, you were drinking the Donald Trump Kool-Aid, and it sounds like you're still drinking it.
Well, I think Donald Trump is a tremendous American patriot. I've never been a Kool-Aid drinker.
Last time we talked, I think you did say you were drinking the Kool-Aid.
I said what?
Brother, our conversation on videotape.
We wake up every day thanking the Lord that Donald Trump is our president.
Wow.
Yeah, we love him.
You drank the Kool-Aid gallon at a time, it sounds like.
Yeah, unsweetened too.
I'll allow you to correct me on that, Stan, but 2 years later, I'm not drinking Kool-Aid. I'm still a big supporter. I will support him in 2024 if he decides to run.
So it's fair to say you're no longer drinking the Trump Kool-Aid, but you're willing to have coffee with Joe Biden.
Yes.
Richard says even though he accepts Biden as president, he still has some skepticism about the election.
The election results said that Trump lost. The courts have said that Trump lost. Those who recount the votes said he lost. But a lot of folk like you just still don't believe he lost.
Well, I've accepted it, though. I don't believe it. There was funny business, no question about it, but we have to move on. And that's what I'm doing. I'm moving on. I'm on the Trump train, but I'm moving on.
A poll conducted after the election in November showed more than 3/4 of Trump supporters believe the baseless allegations that Biden's win was due to voter fraud. Here in the suburbs of Raleigh, North Carolina, evangelical pastor Chad Harvey says he's trying to help his congregation come to terms with a new president, starting by confronting all the misinformation.
It sounds like in these last couple of weeks, besides christening babies, conducting funerals, baptizing people, you've had to be the misinformation police.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of interesting. There has been a little bit of frustration, I guess, maybe directed at me because I have to be the bearer of bad news and say, hey, I don't think Trump is going to swoop in at the last minute. It doesn't do us good for the wider world to see evangelicals getting sucked into all kinds of conspiracy theories about how Trump is going to serve 4 more years.
Harvey estimates that about 90% of his congregation at Cross Assembly Church voted for Trump. We were with him just days before the election, at the time putting his trust in the Republican candidate.
Like it or not, Donald Trump's policies are more in line with evangelical, Pentecostal, conservative theology than Joe Biden's is.
What was this Wednesday like for your congregation when your members saw Joe Biden put his hand on the family Bible and take the oath of office that he is in fact our president?
Yeah, for some folks, it was bittersweet. So I don't think it was the inauguration itself that concerned some evangelicals, particularly in my congregation. I think it may be some of the initial executive orders that we're seeing come down the line it's causing some concern in the evangelical community.
Harvey also raises concerns over the recent appointment of Dr. Rachel Levine as Biden's Assistant Secretary of Health, the first openly trans woman to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
To see an individual who really is the antithesis of the evangelical view of human sexuality, the evangelical view of the traditional family, now be elevated to the #2 position in the health department, I do think there's some concern.
I asked this question not only as a journalist, but I asked this question as a person of faith who takes my faith very seriously, and also as a person of color. That part of what I hear in your language and in the views of many in your congregation was the same argument that evangelicals made about people who look like me 40 years ago, 70 years ago, that somehow black people, people of color, didn't belong. And so part of what I hear you saying now, at least for me, rings of that hypocrisy.
This is not a white concern. This is a conservative evangelical concern that really transcends racial lines.
There was a time in the history of evangelical church where the line was race, that if you were white, you were here, if you were black, you were here. And now the evangelical line is about sexuality, that if you are perceived to be a heterosexual person, you are here as a relationship as a child of God. But if you are transgender, you are less a child of God. And so to me, again, it sounds like both speak of a spirit of not all of us are welcome.
Right. And so that's the beautiful thing about, by definition, evangelicals are scripture-centered. And so scripture never denigrates an individual based on color. Scripture never separates people out as one race being superior than others. Scripture does, though, differentiate right and wrong.
It makes me think, with all of these issues that still divide our nation, how can Joe Biden or anybody else, any other politician, possibly bridge that divide?
Yeah, Byron, the answer is he can't. I don't think Donald Trump can do it. I don't think Joe Biden can do it.
In Washington, D.C., President Biden signing a slew of executive orders during his second day in office, focusing on economic recovery for families and small businesses hard hit by the pandemic.
These small businesses, they are hurting badly, and they account for nearly half of the entire U.S. workforce.
Hi, Emily.
Business owners Amy Thomas and her husband Lloyd among those struggling. They're the owners of Pecan Plaza, a strip mall an hour north of Austin, Texas. We first met them back in April as they were reopening after a 7-week lockdown.
The month of February, we had $20,000 in sales. The month of March, I had less than $1,000.
Amy says she received federal aid and small business loans during the pandemic, but it wasn't always easy getting her money.
It was rather difficult to find where you were supposed to go, which source you were to actually fill out the paperwork. But we did do that, and I was able to receive some money.
Among Biden's initiatives today, setting up benefit delivery teams to help small businesses navigate complex federal and state programs. But Amy, who voted for Trump, says she's skeptical of it.
I think on paper it might really be good, but are we creating another bureaucracy with this?
Amy hopes small businesses will remain a priority for the new administration.
Let's move forward. Let's heal. Let's get businesses back open, and let's support the small guy. I'm asking for a chance.
All across America, all sides want a chance at their version of a better America. All agree America's deep divide did not start with Donald Trump. And with his impeachment trial looming next week, Trump supporters say that divide will not end with President Joe Biden either.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.